Hi everyone, it's Rachel from the Shades of Orange, here to do my June wrap-up. I read 7 books this month and most of them were phenomenal, so I can't wait to get into that. But before I do, I want to do a quick Booktuber shoutout, and that is the Reading Outlaw. I'm going to link her channel down below. I just started listening, or rather watching her channel, and absolutely love it. She just is a natural on camera. She reads a wide variety of books, everything from fantasy, graphic novels, kind of adult and young adult, nonfiction. I just find everything she reads fascinating and makes me excited to pick them up. She has less than 150 subscribers when I am filming this video, and I think she deserves so many more than that because she has a great voice and it definitely has something to add to the community. So please take a moment before or after my video, just check out the link down below and subscribe and check her out for yourself. Thanks so much. I've loved your content and just want to really pay it forward for all the people who did Booktube shoutouts for me. Alright, moving on. Let's get on to the books. Now, the first book I read was You Are Not So Smart by David McRaney. This is a pop culture nonfiction book all about different concepts in psychology, everything from the confirmation bias to the bystander effect, and basically all these psychology terms about how people behave, and that even when we think we're making, rational decisions, there's often a lot of underlying things going on that we may not realize, shortcuts that our brain takes in order to make decisions quicker. And the book was just a lot of fun, really interesting. If you have no understanding or no background in psychology, you will still understand this. It's definitely meant to be a read for a layperson. This is the kind of concept you'll learn in a Psychology 101 type class. And I just thought it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of humor and definitely learned a few new tidbits that will be great for dinner conversations. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Now after that, I read The 19th Wife by David Ebershoff. This I read for my book club, and it is a story basically told over 2 different time frames. The historical fiction time frame is all about Anne Eliza, who was a historical polygamous wife who was basically around for the beginnings of the Saints Church, and her experiences as the 19th wife, and then when she actually broke off from the church and ended up going on a crusade to end polygamy. The historical aspect of the story was so fascinating. I learned a lot about the LDS church that I didn't previously know. Now, the other perspective of the story is a murder mystery where a polygamous man has just been murdered and his 19th wife has been accused of killing him. The story takes place from the perspective of her son, who is outcast from the LDS community, and it tells his story trying to figure out who actually killed this person, whether or not his mother did it, and of course gets a really good look in the modern reality of polygamy in today's society. I found both perspectives to be really interesting. I know for some people they'll prefer one story over the other, but I thought they were both fascinating in their own way. I would recommend this to anyone who, like myself, finds the topic of polygamy just intriguing and fascinating. Definitely that will affect how much you enjoy the story. If you have no interest whatsoever in the topic of polygamy, you may not love the story as much as I did, but if you're someone like me who loves all those TV shows like Sister Wives and Big Love, then this is definitely one to check out. It was fascinating. I keep saying it, but that's really the best way to describe it. Now after that, I did a buddy read with Jennifer from InnerSanity, and the book we read was In the Woods by Tana. This is a mystery novel that takes place in Ireland. The idea is that about 20 years ago, 3 children went into the woods in Ireland and only one of them came out. The 2 were missing and are still missing to this day. The child that did escape the woods grew up to become an investigator on a murder mystery squad, and the story is told from his perspective. The story starts out with a young girl who has just been murdered and is found murdered in the exact same woods where his friends went missing. So right off the bat, there's a question of whether or not these are related and how it all fits together. I absolutely love this story. I give it 5 stars. This is easily going to be one of my top books of the year. I just thought it was one of the best mysteries I have ever read. The quality of writing was fantastic. The characters were complex and interesting. And this is a book where I did not know what was going to happen next. It honestly, truly kept me guessing, and I know I pitched a couple of other mystery books this year, which were all really good, but this one blows everything else I've been reading lately out of the water. This is easily one of my top mysteries of all time. I just think It's so well crafted, it's so interesting, and absolutely recommended to anyone who hasn't picked this up. If you're going to read a mystery, make it this one. Next, I read a book called Wallbanger by Clayton. This is a little bit different for me. This is more of a steamy romance. I picked it up from my library's ebook collection. Just sounded like a lot of fun. The premise is that there's a young woman who has essentially lost her O and is trying to get it back. In the meantime, she moved into a new apartment, and her next door neighbor is this hot young guy who keeps waking her up at night because his headboard of his bed keeps banging against her wall because he is getting busy. I just thought this sounded like a lot of fun, and the book definitely didn't disappoint. I found it just really fun, really funny. There's lots of humor, lots of witty banter. It's nothing earth-shattering. I mean, I think it's kind of what you would expect when you pick up a romance novel, but that being said, it was exactly what I wanted at the time, and just thought it was a lot of fun. I would primarily recommend this one to a younger audience, kind of early 20s, maybe early 30s. I felt like the characters and the whole premise around it was definitely targeted to that age group. There's lots of texting, and they're very young characters who kind of go out partying a little bit more, but still, you know, really fun. I thought the characters were smart and sassy and really independent, which I definitely appreciated. I thought it was a very pro-feminine novel that was just, you know, a lot of fun, and just, yeah, overall very happy with it. After that, I listened to the audiobook of An Astronaut's Guide to Life in Space by Chris Hadfield. This is a memoir of a Canadian astronaut who was the commander of the International Space Station just a few years ago. I was really happy with the audiobook. I definitely recommend it. The book is narrated by Chris himself, and while he's not a professional narrator, I really liked getting to hear his voice. He kind of jokes and chuckles along with his own stories, and it just really feels like you're getting an honest story of someone's life, and I thought that was a really nice touch. I ended up liking it so much that I did something I never do, and I actually went out and bought a copy of the book after reading it, because this is a book that I want to reread, and I also think that I'm going to try to make my husband read because he really likes space, so I'm hoping he'll read this as well. Basically, it's a story about his experiences growing up and all the things he had to do in his life in order to be an astronaut, in order to get where he is today in his life. It's very inspirational, and normally I'm not someone who likes inspirational books, but this one was inspirational without that kind of, I don't know, without coming across the wrong way. I just thought it was great to hear his story because he's just honest. He talks about the importance of hard work because everything he was trying to do was very difficult. At the time that he decided he wanted to be an astronaut, there wasn't even a space program in Canada, and NASA just did not take Canadian astronauts. So it's really about, you know, going after what you want even when it doesn't seem possible. And the other part that he really talks about in this book is, regardless of where you end up, plan your life around what you want to do and make sure that the steps you're doing along the way are still enjoyable, because at least if you're on the right path, even if you never get to your final goal, you'll still have lived a good life by doing things that you enjoy. And I don't know, this message really spoke with me. It's a book that I will go back and reread in the future. I just thought it was so well done, and like I said, the fact that I bought the book is really telling of how well I enjoyed the book. So highly recommend this one. The audiobook's great. The book itself is great too. There's pictures in the middle, so you get to see some of his pictures from space if you pick up the physical copy. Now, the last two books I read this month were volumes 1 and 2 of the Death Note series, and this is a manga that is all about a young person who finds a notebook on the ground that was dropped by a death god in Japan. And with this notebook, whoever he writes down their name, that person will die within minutes. And the premise is absolutely creepy, and what the book sets up is this incredible cat and mouse game between the person who is killing people using this notebooks and the detective L who is trying to stop him. I have previously watched the entire anime and absolutely loved it, and I've always wanted to go back and read the original manga. I've struggled in the past with reading manga. Sometimes I find the story isn't developed enough and almost is too quick compared to the anime, but in this case, the manga is just as good as the anime. The original source material and the anime are just, they're so closely tied together. My only complaint, and it's not even a complaint, is that it feels like we're reading because the anime was so faithful to the original story, but absolutely love this one. I actually gave it 5 stars. There was a lot of 5 stars this month, and this is one I cannot wait to continue through. I already have volume 3 on order. It's just the best cat and mouse game. It's so intellectual. The main character is a psychopath, and he's just, I don't know, it's just brilliant. So highly recommend, if you even think about picking this up, give it a try, see if your library has it, because I think it's just a phenomenal story. So that's everything I read this month. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what was your favorite book that you read in June.